you analyze and looking back at the times that you've had promotions, do they help you prepare, or maybe has there ever been a situation where you felt that they've helped you prevent something?
In my field of work, maybe not prevent it, but to do a better job after seeing. In 1997, a premonition that I'd be working on Mondays near a huge pyramid. And I said, I'm not going to Egypt. And boy, within 90 days, I was in Guam with Creator one place in the jungle over there. And when I looked up on the map, here was these huge monument-looking things. That was the concrete bunkers the Japanese built during World War II. What I was working on was the bodies right after and zipping in the body bags. So that was personal.
You've done so much work in so many different arenas in forensic science, but one area that you received a lot of attention on has been the area of research and innovative invention of techniques. What was involved in your work with fingerprints, and explain to me what you did to create a technique using simple glue to lift fingerprints, and how is that significant?
You know, some of the times that had two murder cases off to his several, thinking like a big murder, and fingerprints on the arms and legs of the gun, and drug the cell producing for the wood. There's no cost to it. And I contacted the International Association, my friends, the FBI, Scotland Yard, and they all had the same problem. There's no technique to it. And I said, well, you know, maybe I can solve it. So one of those detectives I worked with said, well, you know, it could be done somebody smarter than you would already done it. Well, that didn't discourage me, so I applied for research status at the University of Tennessee Hospital to use research bodies, and I was granted the research. And it took about 2 years to figure out the right process because I used everything the Japanese and Canadians and Scotland Yard had done to try to get prints off the body to enhance what they were doing, and nothing worked. So I turned to super glue and found out the proper amount of super glue vapors on the skin would develop the fingerprint in about 30 seconds. Now, I heat the super glue to 400 degrees. It turns from a liquid to a gas, and you force the gases on the skin, and about 30 seconds later, and then use the magnetic pattern that sticks to the super glue print and the skin.
This technique that you developed is still used around the world today, correct?
It is. Yeah, my fingerprint technique is used worldwide, and actually the patent I applied for, I got a dual patent. It's for apparatus and technique both, so the technique is used around the world.
Tell me about the energy field. What is it that you sense when there's a difference in energy or you're around it? Does it intensify when you're near a grave?
Since you can't create or destroy energy, the moment I die, my spirit goes to paradise, but the energy field goes in the ground of the body. In 2015, and I know Veterans Cemetery in downtown Danvers, Tennessee, which is the second oldest town in the state, I was challenged, will we ever know if somebody's actually buried where there's no rock, and who's actually where the rock is that doesn't have a name on it? And I was challenged to come up with a solution, and I called my forensic friends, and no one ever thought about something like that. And I meditated on it, and the third morning I woke up and had the answer that there's actually a energy field that is left in the body after death.
What about identifying adults versus children? Is there any difference regarding the research you've done and the device that you've come up with in terms of identifying the gender and the age?
Well, with 4 years of research, when I determined, yes, there is something, I said, nobody's going to believe me, so I got a emerging doctor, I got a professor at the college, I got a historian, I got my friend Steve, and we went into known cemeteries. They put towels and cloths over the tombstones, and I would spend whole rows of it, and they would document my reading. Now, I determined that the magnetic field, it's either inside or attached to red blood cells, for a female is south, for the male is north. And I just made a device that shows me north or south, and I know which one it is based on scanning of 500 marked graves by blind testing with a 99% accuracy rate.
What do you think the impact has been in forensics with the use of your discoveries, both with the identification of the gender and the age, but also with your fingerprint lifting procedure?
I've proved without a doubt it works. I can determine gender and whether it's a child or adult, and I'm pretty close to determine if it's between 8 and 14, you know, that when we're changing from the child over to the childbearing years. I'm pretty close to that.
You can distinguish whether it's an adult or a child?
Yes. 99% accuracy rate. And I hold this device over a grave about knee high. In 10 seconds, I can determine male or female adult or child.
And that's because of the magnetic energy?
Yep, sure is.
Is that magnetic energy different, significantly so, from a dead body compared to a live body?
I don't get anything from a live body. There's something happens in the blood, the magnetic field completely changes from wet blood to dry blood, or from life to death.
Art, you've had so many different formats to cover in your forensic science career. What's the oldest grave you have ever investigated?
The oldest that I can date is near Sevierville, an old unmarked Indian mound. I had to scan it twice. I scanned it first and located 12 adult males in a circle in the mound, roughly 16 feet apart. And I got so excited to find them, I had to go back, and I went back and determined that the head is toward the center. So apparently they were facing ever what was in the center, a totem pole or something. So they either worshiping or honoring something in the center of it. And the last mound builders in this area was 1,000 to 1,200 years ago. So that energy field is still there 1,000 years plus.
Art, how many graves have you investigated using the device that you developed?
I call this the human remains locator, and we have discovered over 3,000 lost graves in the last 5 years. And one that is discovered in a huge cemetery had 410 lost graves. We found one that had a faint response to a male child and a huge response to the adult female. And the best I could determine, based on the position of the grave and where the response is, she probably died in childbirth, and that little boy's laying on her chest. And she'd been dead over 200 years.
What calls do you get the most?
Lost graves. I have one tomorrow to do. The family selling the farm, and they have a family cemetery out, so they're moving it to a real marked cemetery. And this man and his sister thought, wait a minute, we got a little brother that died was a stillborn 73 years ago, and Daddy brought him home from the hospital, put him in a shoebox and buried it under a walnut in the yard. So they went me to find that, and I said, there's not going to be anything left there but the energy field. And I said, well, will you come and show us where it is and let us determine what we want to do? And I said, I'll be happy, so I'm doing that tomorrow.
I was looking through one of your books, your biography, Prince of a Man. There's one picture in there that looks like a ghostly image.
Right in the middle of the 9/11 process, Veterans Day 2001, Flight 587 went down in Queens, New York. They called me back up the heck with that one, and two of the team members and wanted pictures taken. And I took two pictures there, and it was developed. Both pictures had ghostly images. And one has a ghostly image. To me, it looks like a small child laying on a table with the legs bent on the side of the table from the knee down. And we worked a lot of children in that crash. I mean, there was 20 or 30 kids on that plane that went down.
Where was that picture taken? At the morgue?
At the medical examiner's office,
At the medical examiner's office.
Right outside where all the remains were brought in from World Trade Center and that crash too. About 12 feet to her left is where the triage table was, where all the bodies were brought in.
I'm looking at that photograph right now. It is very eerie on page 215 of your book, Prince of a Man.
It is on the left side of that ghostly. You can see that baby laying there.
And you told me a very touching story about your son, Ben, giving you help from the other side. Can you recant that for our listeners?
Well, in 2004, early 2004, late 2003, we were going to get two plots for burials where my father, my mother, and my grandparents are buried in a cemetery. And every time I'd go think about going to talk to my cousin and get the book for the cemetery, I knew I had to have three, and I thought, why in the world, why do I need three graves for? Why do I need three plots for? And it went on, I never went, because every time I thought about it, this overbearing voices kept telling me you need three. And then my son was a University of Tennessee police officer, Veterans Day 2004, and he just started on his way home, and a speeding semi hit him head on. And that was the third one I was supposed to get. And that's where he is right now. His body is, his spirit's in paradise.
And you told me a very moving story about how you've managed to accept that situation, that he's no longer here in the physical life, but in the spiritual, and the closure that you were able to come to on that situation. Can you tell me about that again?
When I got kind of calmed down after he died, which was the next morning. I asked God the question, why? And the answer was immediate. It was his time. And when it's our time, we're going, no matter where we are, what we're doing. We may prolong it. I mean, like the crash in Guam, the 301 crash, 29 people survived that crash. It took 3 days to get a road in there to get the people out. And one of the ladies that survived the crash moved to Knoxville and was murdered the next year in Knoxville.
You feel like he's helping you?
Yes.
And you feel like your work is a calling?
It is. I feel I was chosen before birth for what I'm doing now. I've been so blessed, and I keep trying to remember it. And to whom much is given, much is required, and I keep my best trying to give back and help others.
And where can people find out more about your work, your books, and the things that we've talked about tonight, Art?
Google my name, author Bohannon, Art Bohannon, SC, and they can go find me on Facebook, or they can go to my webpage, it's artbohannon.wordpress.com.
Thank you so much, Art. It's been a fascinating conversation. It really has.
It's good to be here.
And George, Art truly feels it's his calling. He's so humble and so thankful for everything that he's had in life, but despite the tragedies he's endured, what he has seen firsthand is unbelievable, and the existing health conditions that he's had as a result of working. He actually worked over 8 weeks total at 9/11 and inhaled and worked around all of those toxins. So that's something that anyone who worked there or was there would understand much better than those of us just looking at, from the outside looking in. But whether it's helping solve a murder investigation, especially involving children, his technique of using super glue vapor to lift latent fingerprints off a body to solve the murder of a young girl that actually led to the creation of one of the most used laws involving child crimes. It's called Megan's Law, and that's the federal law that it was enacted following the murder of a very young girl named Megan Kenka in New Jersey years ago in the 90s. And that law requires persons convicted of crimes against children to notify law enforcement officials as to their whereabouts, and requires police to make that information available to the public. So because of our work and dedication, that law works to protect children today. And also I'd like to give an update on the story he mentioned about his recent work with the looking for the grave of the small child or the baby. He talked about the last 2 living members of an old family farm selling the place, and that they wanted to find their baby brother to locate the baby's grave and put it next to the parent's grave. So I just spoke with him today, and he said he used the human remains locator that he devised and found the energy field of that baby boy up in White Pine, Tennessee. And now he says that baby boy, the remains, is resting in the cemetery between the graves of his mother and father. Truly amazing.
I don't think I would have the stomach for his kind of job.
I don't think I would either. But it's amazing to me how much he has been through and how much of the work has been hands-on, so detailed and so, just really in touch with everything. That's why I think he developed such a passion. He was intrigued by the whole process, but he was really driven early on by a passion to look for a way to find fingerprints that he knew were there on victims of young children, especially girls, and in finding the killers. In the earlier days, before the technology and before he developed the device that he developed, he found that those fingerprints would evaporate much more quickly from children than adults. And that's how he, through trial and error and using different methods, finally came up with that procedure that was patented. And he gave a prototype of his device to the FBI that was used in solving that Megan's Law case.
Up next, Open Lines with Cheryl Jones, and let me tell you, she is very proficient in UFOs, ETs, ghosts, you name it. Jump on board next.
Find out more about tonight's guest. Log on to coasttocoastam.com.
That's what I'm saying. He's a dilettante. A dilettante's a good word. Now, let go it. I don't have to spell the fancy words I use.
John and Ken, weekdays 2 to 6 on KFI.
Well, fall's officially here, which means stormy weather and cold temps for everyone not living in SoCal. And now, the top 5 reasons to visit Morondo. Number 5.
Into the Woods giveaway. You get a sweet hydration backpack when you earn 500 points on your rewards card before your fifth.
Number 4.
Get splashed with cash in the poker room. Every time a football team scores, we'll toss up to $100 cash in your table pot.
3.
It's National Taco Day at Fiesta Taco. Tacos are $3 or less on the 4th.
And the number 2.
Monster Mash. Just earn 500 points on your rewards card, and you're guaranteed to win up to $100 in cash or free slot play.
And the number 1 reason.
Football, baseball, basketball. Have a ball watching all the ball games on big screens everywhere you eat, play, and stay.
Morondo Casino Resort and Spa. Morondo. Good times.
Why would a plumber just tell me what it costs to unclog my drain over the phone? Is it that complicated?
No, it's not. It makes no sense at all. They obviously have a price.
Whoa, you've got a nice aroma. Who are you?
Mike Diamond, the smell good plumber.
Will you tell me how much to unstop my drain?
$99.
But you haven't seen it.
Don't need to. Doesn't matter if it's a kitchen sink or a mainline sewer stoppage. The smell good plumbers at Mike Diamond will unclog almost any drain for $99.
Almost.
Yeah, there are a few exceptions, but you can read all about them on our website before you call. Just go to thesmellgoodplumber.com.
Wow, you're like up front and everything. I just called a guy named Bubba who wouldn't tell me anything.
No Bubba's here, ma'am. Just professional plumbers who show up on time, smell good, and unclog drains for $99.
Call us. 1-800-446-MIKE. Contractor license number 399170.
KFI AM 640.
Free-range, non-genetically modified, handcrafted, artisanal, gluten-free, stimulating talk.
KFI and KOST HD2, Los Angeles, Orange County.
Happy Friday. You made it through the week. It's time for your morning wake-up call. Here's Jennifer Jones-Lee.
We made it. Friday, I think you get prettier and prettier as my life goes on. October 1st. September always goops me up. I expect the 31st, right? No, today's October 1st. So your rent and your mortgage and all of that is due today. Don't forget. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. We've got a new police reform law that requires incoming cops in California to be at least 21 years old. Officials at a high school in Yorba Linda say they're looking into a picture of a student holding a racist poster that is circulating online. And members of the House are expected to continue talks over that $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill today. We'll talk at 5:05 with ABC's Karen Travers about that. Now, the president did sign that temporary funding bill that will keep the government going until at least December 3rd. But now you also have the fight over the nation's debt ceiling. It's not like anything continues. They sort of just kicked something that was on the calendar, kicked that can down the road until December. So we'll talk about what they have left to do just in the next few weeks with Karen in just a few minutes. So let's start with some of these stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. A new police reform law requires incoming cops in California to be at least 21 years old.
It's been 18 years old, but the bill's author, Democratic Assemblyman Reggie Jones-Sawyer, says it's time for recruits to be more mature and educated. So he included a directive for community colleges to create a modern policing degree program with classes like
psychology, communication, history, ethnic studies, law, and those in critical thinking and emotional intelligence.
The law goes into effect January 1st. Steve Gregory, KFI News.
School officials say they are looking into a picture of a Yorba Linda High School student holding a racist poster.
The poster, which allegedly took aim at Latino students at Esperanza High School in Anaheim, read, "Your dad is my gardener." It was apparently made ahead of a football game. This woman's daughter is a student at Esperanza. However, she has a son that graduated from Yorba Linda.
I have allegiance to both schools. And so I know what the climate is over there, where the kids feel a little bit superior to these kids. I'm fully aware of that.
The district says the poster was never shared publicly on campus. Blake Trolley, KFI News.
Now we'll look at COVID this morning. LA County Health Director Barbara Ferrer says a vaccine mandate would be similar to one that became law in California in 1998.
Without rules to prevent people from smoking in certain places, others would have no control over whether they're exposed to cigarette smoke or not. So we do have rules in place to protect everyone from exposure to secondhand smoke.
Ferrer says a person who does not get vaccinated could be spreading an airborne virus to bystanders who might unknowingly get infected. Ferrer says a vaccine mandate would not exist to punish or judge a person, but rather to save lives. Pharmaceutical company Merck says its experimental COVID-19 pill cuts hospitalizations and deaths by half in people infected with COVID-19. The company says it's going to ask health officials in the U.S. and other countries to authorize its use. Merck's drug would be the first pill used to treat COVID. Its study results have not yet been peer-reviewed. The feds say more than 1.8 million fake prescription pills containing fentanyl and meth have been seized across the country just over the past 2 months. U.S. Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco says the Department of Justice has found the pills in every state.
They're being sold in inner cities, suburbs, and rural communities. They're being sold over the internet and on social media platforms like Facebook Marketplace or Snapchat, and they're being marketed to teenagers.
Monaco says the drugs are being made to look exactly like prescription medication, but the level of fentanyl and meth found in the pills are enough to kill a person. Women in Long Beach are being warned to be aware of their surroundings because of a series of sexual assaults. Long Beach police say there have been at least 8 attacks recently, and they think they are all connected. Commander Ryan Longman says all the attacks have been against women who are walking by themselves.
He approaches from behind, and as he's jogging or riding the scooter past the victim, he'll slap or grab their buttocks and continue on his way.
Longman says the guy has a tattoo of lips on his neck. Right when we come back, we're going to talk all things budget with ABC's Karen Travers, and at least for now, our government will be funded. Guess that's a good thing. If you're me, and you really wanted your husband to go on vacation with you, hi, Nick Taliokini.
Wow, I love that, just like that call out right there.
Oh, God.
Make sure that Scott's taken care of.
Exactly. I mean, literally, was coming down to the wire yesterday. I'm like,
Right.
Would they please pass this thing? I'd really like, I don't want to go to a football game by myself. That's weird.
No, it's not. I'll go with you.
Okay,
You
well,
can,
in
you
that
can, you can
case.
stand in for Scott. I mean, I love him dearly. Don't mind. I mean, he is your husband, but still. I mean, you got plenty of us.
Just as fun. That's true.
Well, anytime you need me, I'm there for you, Mama. Check out the drive inside. Yep, nope, you're good. I got problems for you on the 60 westbound at Azusa Avenue in the industry area. It looks like it's a possible wreck, and that has the 2 right lanes that are shut down. Now, you're definitely seeing a rough go of it for the drive on the westbound side of the 60 as you come away from Harbor Boulevard, or rather Fullerton Road, which is Harbor Boulevard on the Orange County side of things. So 60 westbound from Fullerton Road as you make right beyond Azusa Avenue toward Hacienda Boulevard. Definitely going to feel the pinch there. Got an update on this or anything else slowing you down? Pound 250 on the cell phone. Keyword is a KFI traffic. Even before that on the westbound side of the 60 in Ontario before Grove, getting reports of a big rig wreck that has the right lane shut down. That'll be heavy for you 60 westbound from before Archibald eastbound 60. You'll see delays from Archibald as you make way back toward the 15. And also got problems for you on the 10 westbound this morning around 4th in the Ontario area. Looks like it's a stalled out box truck that has the right lane taken away. That'll be heavy for you as you come away from Archibald. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Nick Taliokini.
5:06 on your wake-up call. Karen Travers, happy Friday to you. So let's start with, we have a funding bill.
Yeah, so that's the good thing that happened yesterday on Capitol Hill. Nothing like a little midnight deadline to get everybody moving. But Congress was able to pass an extension of government funding through December 3rd, giving themselves 2 more months now to work things out for the long-term bill. And the president signed that last night in the Oval Office behind closed doors. He put out a statement afterwards saying that this legislation meets the critical and urgent needs of the nation, including disaster relief money, money for COVID-19, and money for resettling Afghans. He did say, of course, there's still more work to do, but the passage of this bill, the president said, reminds us that bipartisan work is possible. So, nice little optimistic spin on yesterday, but as I say,
bipartisan work sometimes becomes a little more interesting and easy when they've got a deadline like a shutdown coming up in just a couple hours.
Absolutely. Okay, now let's talk about the other things that we'll see if this bipartisanship is able to come together on.
Yeah, so we'll see. Last night, lawmakers were at the House, at the Capitol until midnight. I mean, it was a late night in Washington. Nancy Pelosi was there until after midnight. No vote happened on that bipartisan infrastructure bill that's already passed the Senate, $1 trillion. They are talking about maybe trying to do it today, but, you know, what we saw yesterday was progressives holding their line, saying we are not going to vote yes on this until we see movement, maybe even a vote in the Senate on that second part, the reconciliation bill, as it's called. And this is the big one. You know, it was roughly $3.5 trillion as a proposal. After yesterday, seeing all the negotiations play out, we're probably looking at a $2 trillion bill. Still a lot of money that would go to education and child care, health care, and climate action. But they have a lot of work to do, and the White House acknowledged that and said they need some more time to get closer to an agreement, but they were sounding optimistic as of last night. Jen Psaki said the work will continue first thing Friday morning, but I got to tell you, it is a sleepy morning in Washington right now. Late night last night, first thing today might not be first thing, it might be in a couple of hours, but we're certainly anticipating that the negotiations continue today. Nancy Pelosi was saying yesterday, well, you know, technically, they never went into recess. You know, it was like a technical term of, like, the House staying in session. So in technical terms, it's still yesterday. So they could maybe still get a vote going and count it as Thursday.
That feels like when you're in kindergarten and you take a nap, but it's not really a nap. You just put out a mat and everybody eats a carrot and then you kind of doze a little bit and get back up. All right. Ken, thank you so much.
At it again. Have a great weekend.
Hey, you too. See you later. ABC's Karen Travers. We're not going to call it recess. We're not going to call it nap time. We're just going to call it think about your daytime. Oh, boy. I love Washington. Let's get back to some of these stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. Firefighters have been keeping an eye on hot spots at the scene of that large fire at a pallet yard in Carson. LA County Fire Department's Jonathan Matheny says about 200 firefighters responded yesterday afternoon to keep the fire from spreading to nearby buildings and the mobile home park.
This is a situation what we often refer to as a surround and drown. We surround this thing with as many master stream units as we can, and we pour water on it until it's out.
Some businesses nearby were evacuated. Firefighters had put out a large fire that was burning at a warehouse in El Sereno. That one wasn't far from Cal State LA. The LA City Fire Department said that one started about 5 yesterday. Crews were able to get a handle on it in about 2 hours. Well, the family of that 18-year-old woman who was shot by a school safety officer in Long Beach says she is brain dead and will be taken off life support. Mona Rodriguez got into a car after an argument with a teenage girl near Millikan High School on Monday when she was shot by the safety officer. The family has set up a GoFundMe page to help pay for the funeral costs. The CDC says deaths from COVID-19 are expected to drop for the first time since June. The agency predicts weekly COVID deaths will drop to 5,300 by the end of this month. The current weekly total for COVID deaths is about 14,000. Australia says it plans to restart international travel in the coming weeks. The country's Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, says restrictions will be lifted once the country reaches 80% double-dose vaccination target.
Once changes are made in November, the current overseas travel restrictions related to COVID-19 will be removed.
Morrison says it's time to give Australians their lives back. Oh no. More COVID on Dancing with the Stars. First it was Cheryl Burke. Now it's fitness instructor and Dancing with the Stars contestant Cody Rigsby, who's tested positive for COVID-19. His partner on the show is the aforementioned Cheryl Burke. She announced that she tested positive for COVID earlier this week. Now Rigsby says he is vaccinated against the virus and his symptoms are very mild. Well, new information is coming out in the case of Gabby Petito and the search for her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. ABC's Andrew Dimbert says law enforcement officers went to the Laundrie family home multiple times
before Petito was reported missing.
FBI agents returned to the laundry's home yesterday, spending time inside the house and inside the camper Brian and his parents took on a trip just days before he went missing.
Laundry has been missing for nearly 2 weeks after returning from that cross-country trip without Petito. She was later found dead in Wyoming. Well, if you are looking for a pet with personality, you can look into the tree.
A new study says squirrels may have personalities closer to humans than dogs or cats. Researchers from UC Davis say the golden-mantled ground squirrel found in the western U.S. and Canada shows 4 different traits similar to humans: boldness, aggressiveness, sociability, and activity level, all of which are key to their survival and life expectancy. They say the sociability trait was the most important factor for survival. Golden-mantled ground squirrels are mostly antisocial, but those that form bonds with others have access to greater resources and, of course, the ability to reproduce. Michael Crozier, KFI News.
You can always tell when Crozier's about to say something a little racy, because he gets that sound in his voice. Rolling Stones frontman Mick Jagger says he wasn't recognized when he went to a dive bar in North Carolina. What? Nobody knew who Mick was? He said he made a pit stop for a beer in Charlotte Wednesday night during the band's first tour since the death of drummer Charlie Watts. And Jagger says he goes into the bar. Nobody, including the bartender who served him, noticed who he was. And in fact, it wasn't until the poor guy tweeted about it that people were like, oh yeah, that was Mick Jagger at the bar. Okay, I can't tell if you would be like, cool, I finally got to go somewhere and nobody noticed me. How great was that? Or if you're like, oh my God, I actually had to pay for my own drinks. What the hell is this world coming to? Nobody knew who I was? And you have to wonder if there was a little part of him that wanted to go, you guys know who I am? Huh? Nobody? Nothing? All right, when we come back, we've got entertainment news with ABC's Jason Nathanson. Major movies are coming out this weekend, including The Addams Family 2 and the one that I am looking forward to. It's The Many Signs of Newark, which is supposed to be the prequel to the Sopranos series. So we'll talk with Jason about those in just a few minutes. Right now, let's talk with Nick one more time about what's going on your drive.
As you're making your way through the Inland Empire, that's really going to be your trouble spot first thing this morning now. It's going to be a heavy drive on the westbound side of the 10 San Bernardino Freeway. From before Archibald, as you make your way towards 4th, still dealing with a stalled out box truck. Actually, it looks like it's straddling the 2 right lanes. 3 left lanes are open. You are able to get through, but it's definitely causing some heavy delays for you first thing this morning. And on the westbound side of the 60, you're encountering a problem that has the right lane taken away. Looks like this is a wreck involving a big rig westbound 60 before Grove, and you're seeing a rough go of it for the drive as you come away from Haven. Got an update on either of these problems or anything else slowing you down? Pound 250 on the cell phone, keyword KFI traffic, westbound side of the 91. Believe it or not, that's not too bad of a drive. There will be light passing delays for you overall out of Riverside from before Magnolia as they head toward the 241 toll road, but it's much, much lighter than normal. KFI and this guy helps get to there faster. I'm Nick O'Keefe.
This report is sponsored by Whole Foods Market. Hey, Prime members, get 25% off all artisan breads from the Whole Foods Market Bakery through October 5th while supplies last. Stock up on favorites like our exclusive Seduction bread. Learn more on the Whole Foods Market app.
This is Chris Collinsworth. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network, presented by DraftKings.
The Dodgers massed 5 home runs as they completed the sweep against the Padres. They need to win tonight against the Brewers to stay alive for the division title. Chargers quarterback Asante Samuel Jr. is your NFL Defensive Rookie of the Month. They host the Raiders Monday in a big divisional showdown. And a halftime show at Super Bowl 56 in L.A. will feature SoCal natives Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and Kendrick Lamar. Mary J. Blige and Eminem will also take the stage. I'm Nikki Jordan.
Someone uses your toilet and it overflows. Can you imagine how embarrassing that is for your guests and for you? Hello, I'm John Akoyan, owner of Rooter Hero Plumbing. You're hosting a party, the water's on the floor, and your guest has to tell you that the toilet is backed up. And worst of all, you have to tell your guests that they can't use the bathroom. I shudder when I tell this story because it happened to me. Can you imagine? I own Rooter Hero Plumbing and my toilet overflowed. Talk about being humbled. Well, the truth is, it could happen to anyone. And the solution is to call 866-DRAIN-77. That's what I did, and our plumber was here within the hour. Not because I'm the owner, but that's just what we do. I'm so confident that you'll be satisfied with our services, that I put my cell phone number on every business card. 866-DRAIN-77. That's 866-DRAIN-77.
Yeah, 102-8886.
Rate subject to change without notice. Minimum loan amount requirements apply. 60% loan to value and 740 FICO credit score. Certain restrictions apply. Subject to credit approval. NMLS 3290. Loans made or arranged pursuant to a California Financial Lenders Law license number 6036970. Equal housing lender.
Unbelievable. Home loan rates have dropped again at IntelliLoan. Today, IntelliLoan is offering a 1.875% rate in APR with no points and no lender fees. Did you hear that? A 1.875%. Don't think you qualify? I bet you haven't called IntelliLoan. You don't have to have perfect credit to get this great home loan. So lock in this unbelievably low 1.875% fixed rate in APR with no points and no lender fees. So call IntelliLoan before the rates go up. Call them at 1-800-918-6200. That's 1-800-918-6200. Or just go to IntelliLoan.com.
IntelliLoan. Borrow smart.
The Delta variant is making COVID-19 spread faster and more easily. Variants can be more contagious, aggressive, and deadly. But we know vaccines work. Vaccinated Californians have greater protection against serious illness, hospitalization, and death. We can help stop the spread and end this pandemic. Get vaccinated and wear a mask when it can protect you and others. Find a vaccine near you at myturn.ca.gov. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
I'm Susan Owen, managing partner at OPO Law. Over 43 years of experience. In Zurich Doll, pound 250, use keyword personal injury to connect to OPO Law.
When you dial pound 250, you'll have the option of receiving an auto-dialed text message from iHeartMedia.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis makes me more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
Sunday night at 8. LA County Sheriff Alex Villanueva, unscripted.
I'm being cheered on by the people in the high desert because of illegal grows. I'm being cheered on by the people in Venice, people on Olvera Street. Everyone was impacted by homeless throughout LA County.
What's the sheriff going to talk about? Who is he going to talk about?
If the elites of the party want to see me resign, but you're going to be disappointed. I'm not going anywhere.
KFI gives the mic to LA County Sheriff Alex Villanueva this Sunday night at 8 on KFI.
KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Running into that weekend. The football for you. I'm Jennifer Jones-Lee, and some of the stories we're watching in the KFI 24-hour newsroom. We've got a new police reform law that goes into effect January 1st that will require the state community college system to create a modern policing degree program with classes on psychology, critical thinking, and racial and ethnic studies. The bill's author, Democrat Assemblyman Reggie Jones-Sawyer, says new cops should be mature and educated. The new law will also change the minimum age for police recruits from 18 to 21. And officials at Yorba Linda High School say they're looking into a picture. There's a student with this kind of a teal sign, and they're saying this is a very racist poster because check out what it says. It says, "Your dad is my gardener." Yeah. It was apparently made ahead of a football game and allegedly took aim at Latino students who go to Esperanza High. The school district says school staff didn't know about the sign and any punishment for the students will be kept confidential. Coming up at 5:35, it is our Friday chat with KFI's House Whisperer, Dean Sharp. We're getting ready for fire season. Getting your house ready for it. I know Dean does this show at least twice a year. I feel like he could do this once a quarter because fire season in California is fire season in California year-round anymore. But Dean's got some reminders for us as well as some new ideas to talk about when we chat with him in just a few minutes. All right, in just a few, even before Dean, we're going to chat with Jason Nathanson about your entertainment news. But I've got a couple of more stories for you. Analysis from a care company shows Americans check their smartphones 96 times a day. We talked a little bit about this during Handle on the News yesterday, but this had a little more information. So, it's a study from Asurion. It shows a 20% increase from just 2 years ago in the amount of time that we actually go to check our phones. Now, this may be no surprise that the people of 18 to 24 in that range, that they check their phones more often than we do. How about this?